Hey everyone, welcome to the live stream. Today we're gonna continue working on the Jethro Tull drums that we've been working on the last few days. Once again, just to recap, the cover song that I recorded drums on. It's a Jethro Tull cover. My dad needed some drums done on a song he was doing. My dad's a very accomplished mixing engineer, producer, songwriter, and yeah, he's putting together a few songs. And he needed me to put drums on this one. So we're just going through and going to be finishing up. We're pretty much done with the editing. I'm going to go through today and just make sure there's nothing that I missed. But besides that, I'm going to be going through and automating some volume levels because the overheads, the difference between the hi-hat playing and the actual like drums and the cymbals. Like the hi-hat gets a little too loud in sections, so I'm going to be automating those volume levels. And then we might even get into some actual mixing on drums today. So let's jump right into it. I'm going to play a little bit of the song just so you guys can get acquainted with it. So right there would be a great example of one of the hi-hat volume automations that we're going to be doing. Yeah, it just gets a little too loud there. Also, let's organize these tracks a little bit more. Usually like to see my overhead tracks here at the bottom. Usually like to see my kick at the top. There's a few ways we can do this. I'm going to turn off the drum group. I'm going to go to the overhead track so that when I click it, both pop up right there, get highlighted. So instead of doing volume automation like this, which might cause latency within the track, like it might not hit those exact moments that I want it to hit, I'm just going to turn down the clip gain. So it's at 0 dB right now. Let's see what it sounds like 2 dB below. Now we don't want it to be too drastic or it might sound a little funny compared to the rest of the tracks because remember the overheads are picking up the entire drum kit. Let's set a little bit of pre-roll here coming into this part. Sounds a little bit smoother there. Much smoother. Awesome. It's like you don't even really notice it. But overall, I got to turn down the actual like entire overhead left and right, like a good amount. I had it up a little louder just for editing purposes. Let's see. Sounds a little more balanced. Sounds nice. That's we're at negative 5.9. We were at 0, so here's at 0 again. See how the cymbals are a lot louder than the rest of the kit. Now it's more balanced at negative 5.9. Yeah, negative 5.9 seems to be just the sweet spot for this. All right, cool. So we're going to continue going through and editing just the hi-hats a little quieter on each hit. Okay, so now this is actually a little bit too quiet. I'm glad we leveled the actual overall volume first. All right, so negative 3.5 sounded really smooth, but it's also just a little bit too loud still. Let's see if going like smaller amounts will help this. Not pulling down the other side, so we don't want to use that method. We're gonna have to use trim. Trim's a multi-mono plugin, so it might not actually even show up here. Good though. Yeah, it's not wanting to. See if we can change the group property. Bummer that you can't group clips. Well, I guess there's a actual clip groups way of doing this. Do it like this. There we go. Cool. Okay, we'll run with that for now. So negative 3.76. There is an edit that we didn't quite get yesterday. Yeah, so this part right now. Yeah, these look a little bit ahead. Use beat detective to smooth that out. Awesome. Now we're gonna go back to new clip gaining the hi-hats. Those hi-hats were good volume. But fix the timing on those a little bit more. Something sounds a little off here. See if I can just take off the clip gain just on these tracks. No, not all of them. Would have made editing a little easier, but it's all good. Okay, so it's probably this right here. And get that a little tighter. Much smoother. If you guys have any questions, just let me know in the chat box below. This one might sound a little bit better on the down. Quite sure what. Oh, okay, that's the right spot. Dude, this sounds like stretched out a little bit more. Get a new smoothing on that. That sounded better before. Okay, so we're analyzing these hi-hat hits. Seeing if they're too loud. This one, probably passable. But notice how when the cymbal hits in the next beat, the cymbal's a lot quieter. So to fix the context of that, I probably should turn this down just a bit. Just want the overheads. A little smoother. There we go. Now that downbeat's a lot more exciting when it hits in. Because this isn't so loud, taking away the focus of like the intended downbeat right there. Alright, that sounds exciting. We'll keep that. so that's cool that we want those overheads heard right there, but they are definitely a little loud. Cymbals. About negative 1.5 right now. It's a little loud. All right, negative 3. I like that hit. Right here definitely gets a lot louder than the downbeat hit. We'll turn these down. Okay, so that only turned. Break this so that we have full control over it. Okay, nice. Much more controllable volume. Make this a little more gradual. Let's hear it a little bit before, like, coming into the break section. Diagnose this hi-hat right here. It's just like a tad loud because we want the music to get louder right when the full band comes in. We'll turn these down just a tad. Probably just go to negative 0.5. Cool. Do the whole thing. So phone me, singing my song, feeling so lonely. I sing very softly, so if the phone rings, I can hear it. I can hear it. I can hear Those hi-hats were way too loud. Great hits though, very crisp. Came out very nice. It just came out a little too loud. Also notice that I'm doing all these adjustments on the actual clips themselves with the clip gain. I'm doing because this is pre-compression. We don't want like louder, quieter volumes hitting the compressor at these different volumes. Like we definitely want to make sure that We adjust all of this before we hit any compression. In fact, I'm not even going to be compressing the overheads to begin with, but I am going to be most likely parallel compressing them and just slightly blending that into the track. So the reason these two volumes are so different is because this pink track is a different track that I comped for this performance. And when we tracked it, just for that one performance, accidentally, the right preamp is way too quiet. So I had to go in with clip gain later and turn it back up. And you can't really even hear a difference, which is great. So we were able to preserve that take and fix that with clip gain. But that's why this volume is so different than the rest of the tracks in Blue. But man, that came out really crisp, really nice. I love the volume, but it's still going to be too loud compared to when the downbeat hits. So we just kind of got to make that decision right now. How loud we actually want this to be before the downbeat hits. Need to copy that. Yeah, that's a little too quiet, so right about here is going to be good. There we go. Now the kick hit and the cymbal hit is definitely like hitting more impactful on this downbeat now. Okay, I might nudge this up by like 0.1. Alright, that sounds cool. Let's hear it a little bit before. I'm actually going to turn the snare up right here too, just so that the drums have a little special moment, and then like the connection between the snare and then the hi-hat hitting isn't so separate from each other. So I'm just going to do this in, yeah, just the regular clips here. We're getting the bottom and the top. Okay, so now 0.5 seems to be a little bit too loud. We're going to bring back clip gain line. We have these highlighted where we want. Nudge it down. So I'm holding command just to go by 0.1 increments. And even 0.3 is still a little too loud. Oh, it's not giving us a 0.1 option. Sucks. Maybe if I zoom in, it might. Nope. Well, after hearing it a few times in the snare is kind of loud. You know, actually, once I have the parallel compression on the overheads, it's probably going to be totally fine. In fact, just to hear this with parallel compression, we can just kind of have it on in case we decide to use it to get an idea of like how it's going to benefit or not benefit the track. I'm going to rename that. Okay, so I think for this overhead parallel compression track, we'll probably use BT charger. That's what it's called. Where's supercharger? That's it. See how much more exciting it got? Also gave the song a little bit more bounce too, which is cool. So now we might want to take all the attack out of this parallel compression track, just so we get the clean. We don't want all the transients coming into this. Are we going to put this before the compression or after? We're going to try both, see what it sounds like. Let's bring a lot more length out of the actual like shells coming into the overhead track too, which is really cool to hear that. Giving the song a new movement. Dude, it sounds like transient designer after compression. Sounds pretty nice. Sounds a little bit more even with the track too, instead of being like so dynamic, which is kind of nice because you can kind of focus on the song more a little bit that way as like a listener. Also, I'm toggling on and off the read to off, kind of hearing how it affects the latency of this track. Trying to go for basically the most musical sounding setting. Sometimes it sounds better on read, sometimes it sounds better on off, but it affects the latency by like milliseconds. Okay, I'm gonna finish this off with L1 because I'm not really hitting the compression that hard. Sounds kind of cool this way. Giving it a bounce. A lot more flatter. That's kind of what I want here. I'm trying to keep this track dynamic, like the actual overhead track. Overhead parallel track is more to keep it a little more focused, a little more contained. But the two together are creating a really cool bounce. The whole song, which the song pretty much based around that bounce. I want to try slightly different transient designer setting with no attack here, or no sustain, I mean. this right at 0, just see what this sounds like. Toggle back and forth between the two. Yeah, I definitely like it better without the sustain push. We're getting more rich round sound of the drum, which is great. That's what we want. This is more here just to catch any peaks, so it's all at one consistent. It doesn't go over a consistent volume. Probably turn this up to 270 now. I like it at 2.6 there. Okay, here's without the parallel compression in. Hear the difference. Still sounds cool, but this just adds just another layer to the entire sound to be a little more full and focused. And that's without the other tracks even mixed. I mean, you can hear how much it brought out the evenness and like the roundness of the kick drum and the snare. Sounded cool. I feel like it's missing one last stage of something. Might be needing a little bit, a kiss of saturation. We're at 64. I'm gonna go back a little bit before this to hear how this is grooving with the track. Alright, I'm gonna leave the parallel track here just because probably going to be doing some more mixing of the kick and snare. It sounds cool at this point, but I'm definitely going to be putting some more, at least saturation, a kiss of probably the same saturator on a lot of these tracks when I start mixing. Also probably gating out some of the extra noise as well. Alright, cool. So before we pick back up, I'm going to use the restroom. I'll be right back, and then we'll continue on editing the drums. Okay, everyone, and we are back. Get right into it. Oh, it looks like we got a vacation camera there. Fix that real quick. Okay, we're good now. Pick back where we left off. Singing all day, singing about nothing, singing all day, singing about nothing, singing all day, singing about nothing. All right, let's turn down that hi-hat. So really just this one needs to go down. Go to -0.6. That's good. Fix this hi-hat here. Get that on the grid a little bit better. This one as well. Beat Detective, add a smooth on there. This one might need bigger fit. Yeah, okay. So I can see here. Not quite continuing the length the same way. It's a little louder here than quieter here. We're gonna drag this as far back as we can. Do a bigger fade like that. Nice. Much smoother. This overhead track is a little bit bigger here. And so I was in shuffle mode, I guess, for that last move, which don't want that. Yeah, just in case, I want to make sure I'm out of shuffle mode so that I'm not stretching the entire back half of the song earlier. Yeah, so these are not quite in the pocket where they need to be. Yeah, all these look a little early. No, just these two. We're a little ahead of the beat right here. Fix this fade line, a little bit too much anticipation before that. Sounds good. Okay, so this edit right here was more edited to, looks like the overheads, but we want the kick to hit first, not the overheads. Nudge it over just a tad. That's what I'm going to be. Okay, so this one's too early. Amazing what can happen when one snare hit or kick is like too early. It can make the next two parts, even though they're on the grid, sound off. Fixing some of the fades here just to make sure the anticipation between the end of the hi-hat hit coming into the next snare hit sounds natural. That snare could be a little louder here. Turn this up. Nice. Sounds a little early. So this fade's too big, not sounding natural. That sounds a little funny right there. That's better. Turn up those snares too, actually. Yeah, with these ones. Want nice consistent snare heads through this whole solo so that our primary focus is on the flute solo. Just turning up these snare hits here, nothing else. So this work's tedious, but it goes a long way in making the song sound as good as it can. So if this is like a rock song or a metal song, I would have chose to kept this up at 1 dB, but because this is more of like a this shuffle, almost jazzy, classical Irish feel, to it. I want to keep the slinkiness of it so that you feel it kind of bobbing as we're going along. And the 0.5, I just felt that a little bit more. That's why I decided to keep it at 0.5 dB. Especially when you hear the dynamics of the way the hi-hat comes in right after. Yeah, so the whole thing's got that bounce. Maybe even turn up the overheads here to get more of the hi-hat out. Why does this sound a little funky? Because the snare is ahead of the beat. It's not letting me break it right in the transient for some reason. There's probably just too much information in this group you can do by hand. Sounds cool. Okay, I might need to nudge it around a bit, but I definitely want to turn up the snare in this part. Cool. Okay, now I can tell that it's a little after the beat, so I'm going to move it a little ahead. A little bit better. One more. It's almost on it. So that sounds pretty close to it. I'm going to nudge one more forward. Sounds cool. Go with that. the snare's a little ahead of the beat right here. This is why we go back and recheck the edit. I need a longer fade here. No, that's making it stutter, so that's not gonna work. It's probably fine. We'll just turn up the snare here, and that might kind of fix the anticipation for this part. Might not be able to get away with turning up the snare there because I'm hearing a little something ahead of it, which I'll solo it so you guys can hear that little stutter. Gotta be careful with this edit because there's a lot of leeway time in between the snare hit. However, if I go too far over, look at that. There's a lot of information of the original snare hit there being a little early coming in. So one way to fix this is to look at the hit before it and see what we can work with here. We can get away with like a really long fade. Maybe not, because there's that. Yeah, I can't do that. Try over here. There we go. Boom. Can't even tell. Okay, and then that's the end of the song. See what's going on right here. Cool. All right, we are all done with the automation portion of the mixing and done with the drum editing, because now we know, because we've gone through the editing twice now, looking to see if we missed any edits. Who knows, there still might be like one or two small edits that I missed. A lot of individual hits in here, as you can see. Yeah, a lot. Okay. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stop the stream for right now, take a break, get some lunch in, and come back and do more of the mixing of the song when I get back. So yeah, I'm gonna take a break here. I'm gonna take probably like a hour or two break and come back on in the next few hours. I'll put a notification on if you guys want to continue watching, notifying, sending an email out if you follow me when I'm coming back on. It'll probably be in like an hour or two, something like that. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this stream. If you're not following me already, be sure to follow me, shoot me a like. That really helps. Yeah, I will send out the email when I'm coming back on later today to jump into the mixing of this song. And with that, hope you guys have a great break, and I will see you soon.